Well, one of our first interviews this morning, we begin with the sad news of the passing of acclaimed actor Presley Chweneyagae, the star who has captured international attention with his powerful lead role in the Oscar-winning film Cobrizi, and later became a household name for his portrayal of Cobra in the popular TV series. The River died yesterday at the age of 40. It is a particularly poignant moment as his death comes exactly 2 decades after the initial release of Cobrizi. This morning, we are joined by the casting director from The River, Paddy Mazibuko, to reflect on Presley's remarkable talent and the impact that he had on the South African television as well as film industry. Paddy, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. And I want to start off by expressing my condolences to you as well as the crew and the people that have worked with Presley. But take us to the moment that you heard about the passing on.
Good morning, Eldrin. Thank you for your kind words of condolences. Yeah, I think it's still also shocking because, unfortunately, it kind of came as a rumor, which is always unsettling to hear. I heard from another colleague who wanted to know, is this true? And obviously my initial thought was, no, this can't be true. This must be all fake news. And then I had the very nervous work of having to verify it by calling 2 very specific people who I knew would tell me immediately if it was true or not. And unfortunately, without saying too many words, they confirmed that it was true. And the day just was never the same after that. And then just the phone calls and messages just kept rolling. And I think everyone was just in shock. And everyone just wanted someone who was someone trustworthy to say, is this true? Because I think a lot of people wanted to hear that, no, it's just fake news. It's another one of those false stories. But unfortunately, this time, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, and waking up, of course, this morning is perhaps maybe to a certain extent, the news is now setting in that indeed this person is no longer with us. Speak to us about his talent, his gift, and maybe also take us back to how he was casted for the role of Cobra, which we now know him for. And yesterday also someone was mentioning that for the first time in South Africa, we have a show spin-off based on a character from another series.
Yeah, I think the spin-off speaks volumes. If I could just start from the tail end of the question, it just speaks volume of what he did. I mean, to my knowledge, it was the first time MultiChoice had ever commissioned a spin-off, which says a lot about what he did with the character of Cobra, because then in a way it became bigger than The River, and so you could take it in different places. And I think Cobra is someone that you wanted to see in as many different situations and environments. And, taking him to Johannesburg was, in itself so different from what he did on The River for 6 years. Yeah, man, working with Presley was phenomenal because his talent, I think, it continuously surprised all of us, right? So I'll give you like an example, which is something that happened recently on Cobrizi. When you work with actors for a long time, you get to know all of them, the good side and the bad side. So you get to meet and work with them on the good days and the bad days. And the thing about Presley is that sometimes even when you as someone who's, in the crew and production, you know those little nuggets. When you see something on TV that, oh no, that was a bad day. I wonder if anyone else was going to see that. But when you watch him, when the episode is finalized and is playing on TV, what you see doesn't speak of any bad day or if he was irritable that morning or if he was grumpy. And I think that just really speaks that no matter what was happening around him, when that director said action, he gave Cobra everything. And you always just got what you wanted from him, be it laughs, be it his charm or his charisma, or be it in those moments when he had to be very emotional and when he had to take you on those emotional journeys with him and make you cry with him. He really knew how to turn that on. So that is one thing about Joe Presley, which I admired the most, that he was so good at that. That when it was time to work, when it was time for him to shine, he never let anyone down.
Yeah.
And you forget everything else that could have happened on any particular day, and you just always knew that, wow, this man is brilliant. You really forget everything else. You forgive him for whatever you might have been going through that day, because that charisma just always shone through, And casting for the river, so that story is quite old now, but can I remember what happened? I think Presley was just one of those. Because I was there at the time, and I think it was one of those. Will it happen? Will he do it? And without even auditioning much, I think he maybe came for one call. He just hoyed, man, and it was it. And it was just when those moments in castings where you can't explain it, but you just know that, okay, that's it. That's what everyone has been looking for. And everything afterwards was just history.
Yeah. Yesterday, my colleague was out in Mahikeng and speaking to the locals there. And one thing that they constantly made reference to is the use of bombastic words by the character Cobrizi. And I think what he has done with that character and the development of that character as well is how do you make it your own, and perhaps maybe even while you stick to the script and the intention of the script, the color that you're able to bring with the nuance that is required for character like Cobra, like a person who is also now in charge of a household to a certain extent, and somebody who is revered, because you also want to stand out.
Yeah, so I know that credit also goes to the creators of the river, Gwydion and Pachu, and the writers and the directors, because when that show began, a lot of things were scripted in one way, right? So what the river was very lucky in is that we brought together cast members or actors that one loved and supported each other. So no one ever fought back when those moments of ad-libbing and improv came about. And so many of those characters, not just Cobra's, but even some of the other famous characters on the show, once everyone saw the direction that everyone wanted to go, everyone supported that. And after that, the show took a course of its own, and the characters took a course of its own. And it's almost like they started writing their own characters and making them fit in every single situation that they were supposed to be in. You take Cobra, for example. He had that ability to, no matter what the story was, he always had a way to make it funny. And when he needed to go, to a more emotional place, he then took you with you, as I said, and then you believed him and you supported him throughout all of that. And I think it's just really credit to the creators of the show for allowing actors to play in the way that they did, and allowing Presley to take full ownership of that character, and always just giving him the space to work. And the fellow cast members who also supported and always went in that directions that, they needed to make that show so memorable. Yeah.
I want to take you back quickly to a moment where I was actually on set. I had a couple of those on the river set. But one specific one was, it was the Mandela Bridge. It was the cash-in transit heist that was going to take place. And damn, what an ability for me, the entire crew, come together, create this thing, make it look as realistic as possible. But the ability of Presley to switch on and off. You speak about his humor. That humor was offset, was off camera as well. And we got to experience that off camera. But that ability to switch it on and off, when the director says action, it was action. 2 seconds ago, we were laughing, and the next moment it's action and action, and there are guns being shot.
No, he really had that, and that was one of those groundbreaking arcs on the river. I remember it very well because, yet again, it was a first for a telenovela to do such a thing. It was a first to see Presley Chweneyagae, Zenzo Norwe, and Warren Masamula, in a sequence playing friends, doing a cops and robbers thing. It was a first in so many kinds, and you know, true to Presley. He knew how to play his place and let everyone else shine as well, because we all remember all those characters for what they did for that show. But you know what you say about him being able to turn it on and off. I mean, that's the one thing about Presley, right? Like his humanity, his humility, his charisma was just, it was global. You know, it wasn't only for the cameras, it was for everyone, because he really was that guy that even on cut and when in between scenes, he knew everyone's name. He had, you know, private and personal jokes with everyone. So he did have that thing when he sees you, he knows how to treat you with a certain humor and, you know, pick up on a certain inside joke with you. And then when it's action, then he's back to that. And then when on cut, he's, you know, he goes back down to that. So I think that's what a lot of us will miss the most, is that personal touch, man.
Yeah.
That personal touch that he had with him. He really left all his troubles, you know, elsewhere and outside. And every time he saw you, he dealt with you. And it was always in a positive and fun manner. And then he still gave it all when he was on set as well. And you just never got a sense of just how big of a deal he is. And I think now you start to feel, actually, Presley is a big deal. But he would never make you believe that, because his humility was such that he made things about you and he knew how to make you laugh on and off set. And as I said, like it's only now I think that the reality of this, actually, this was a big deal guy. Mm-hmm. And he was a very talented actor. And I don't think we have many Presleys around. There are certainly not 100 of him. But wow, now that he's gone, it's like, damn, guys, there aren't a lot like him to have that effect that he has on so many people.
Paddy, thank you once again for making time for us. And the Go Back to Work is actually on set. And that's what happens sometimes with these series, is that you get there while it's still very, very dark in the wee hours of the morning and you show up. Paddy, thank you so much, and condolences once again to you.